Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here. It's always a pleasure to be in Idaho, and especially Moscow. This is an amazing place where you live. I want to take a minute and embarrass my son and my niece and have them stand in an Elias Trahant Sequoia dance. Both police veterans. I'm especially excited and honored by the topic that I was asked to speak about, and that's to both celebrate the work of Dr. Martin Luther King and to tie it to environmental justice. And right now, that means the most important story in that regard is what's going on at Standing Rock. Dr. King's brilliant message that the goals of freedom, equality, and justice cannot be secured for any of us as long as they are being denied to some of us is essential. We cannot walk alone, he said, because the common destiny of every American is inextricably bound to the rest. That's why we stand with Standing Rock. We cannot let them walk alone. We cannot allow environmental injustice to be either the standard or the norm. So here's the thing, I'll tell the story. No matter what happens next at Standing Rock, the Sioux tribe there has already defied history. History. An all too forgotten history. So I have, shall we say, some wonkish tendencies. And one of those is one day I was driving across North Dakota on back roads, and I wanted to be on the 100th meridian. So I pulled out my phone and Google Maps and tried to align myself with the 100th meridian and tried to find exactly where it was and then follow it for as much as I could in North Dakota. Probably didn't make it. Google Maps is not quite that precise, and it had it, but it kept moving around, so I wasn't quite sure where I was in terms of the 100th meridian. But you know what's funny? Is you can see the changes in the land. Before the 100th meridian, the soil is black and rich and not irrigated. But after the 100th meridian, the vegetation becomes thinner, the soil visibly drier, and you're in the west, the irrigated west. The tribal nations who live on the 100th meridian have a 10,000-year history of adapting to changes in the land. This is the moment right now where the science of indigenous knowledge is matching what we know and resolve about what's happening next. It's a time where time and place come together. Indeed, the phrase time immemorial fits. Just north of Cannonball, north of Standing Rock, where the Mandan villages once had a population that rivaled the large cities of Europe. But in the 1500s, something happened, possibly a drought. And the people adapted and moved and found a way to survive and prosper. Along that corridor of the 100th meridian, across and even beyond, across North America, that's a story that's been repeated all too often. 5,000 years ago, 200 years ago. Then you don't even have to go back that far. Beginning in 1947, the Army Corps of Engineers and Congress flooded more than 200,000 acres of land that belonged to the Standing Rock Sioux tribe and the Cheyenne Riverside. The Army Corps said, "Trust us, it will be okay." Of course, the Corps was wrong. We now know that the Missouri River dams are causing all sorts of problems that will one day need to be corrected. The indigenous knowledge was ignored, and something that only recently science has figured out. Right now, the best science, which was actually removed from the government's website yesterday, comes from the U.S. Global Climate Research Program. In its most recent report, it said, climate change does not occur in isolation. Rather, it is superimposed on other stresses which combine to create new challenges. The Dakota Access Pipeline is such a stress. The oil industry's own promotions say this pipeline will move oil to markets faster, eventually reaching 570,000 barrels a day. Instead of reducing consumption, Its idea is to make it easier and cheaper for Americans to have more. Yet at the same time, the United States has promised the rest of the world that we will slow down and use oil and reduce our carbon impact. We just cannot do both. Again, the federal government's best science says that water resources will be threatened by climate change, and there needs to be a safeguarding of natural assets, promoting resilience in urban and rural areas, decoupling carbon emissions from economic growth, and encouraging sustainable production and consumption. As I said, this was removed from the webpage yesterday, but that doesn't change the story. It doesn't stop history. I've never seen in my 30 years of reporting the tribes of North America and people with a 10,000-year history of adaptation so unified. This is a moment when people from across the world see it as time to rebalance. 2 years ago, the Dakota Access Pipeline and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers told the tribe about an inevitable pipeline that would cross near their reservation and within treaty lands. The tribe objected, but it was inevitable, a done deal. And why not? This mandate, masking as consultation, worked when the Army literally stole land from the Missouri River for the Garrison Dam. But this time, things were different. In April, the Camp of the Sacred Stones was set up as a center by LaDonna Brave Bull Allard as a center for resistance. Crazy, right? A few people coming together cannot do anything against the absolute power of the state of North Dakota and the oil companies who wanted this done. It was inevitable, a done deal. Then, a few months later, a group of Native youth ran 500 miles from Cannonball, North Dakota, to the district office of the United States Army Corps of Engineers in Omaha, Nebraska. That didn't work either. Again, it was inevitable, a done deal. So the young people kept running, and they ran 2,000 miles to the Army Corps of Engineers headquarters in Washington, D.C. One of the youth said, "We are running for our lives against the Dakota Access Pipeline because it's right in our backyard. Now is the time for people to hear our voices, that we are here and will stand strong." They earned a private meeting with the government, presented a petition with 140,000 signatures, and were endorsed by such celebrities as Leonardo DiCaprio, Shailene Woodley, Ezra Miller, and environmental activist Bill McKibben. Again, nothing. Nope. Inevitable. Done deal. Then, in August, Standing Rock Tribal Chairman Dave Archambault defied state authorities and crossed into the area where they were digging and was arrested. He said the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe is doing everything it can legally through advocacy and speaking directly to the powers that could have helped us before construction began, but we weren't listened to, so we'll keep going. The $3.8 billion pipeline was inevitable, a done deal. Then, in September, the tribe and its allies won a battle when the Obama administration said it would review the matter. Quote, "Construction of the pipeline on Army Corps land bordering under Lake Oahe will not go forward at this time," said the joint statement. "We request that the pipeline company voluntarily pause all construction within 20 miles of the Missouri River." But the Dakota Access Pipeline owners ignored that request. Why should they stop? This is what the federal government just reviewing a record, and the project was still inevitable, a done deal. In fact, a few days later, in an extraordinary exchange before the United States Court of Appeals, the company admitted that the process itself was incomplete. Judge Thomas B. Griffin asked, "Why not wait until you see whether you're going to get the easement under the river? To a neutral outsider, it looks like you're forcing their hand. So it's a gamble. You're gambling that you're going to win." And again, why not gamble? The easement was inevitable, a done deal. Then, in December, inevitable blew up. On the same weekend when thousands of people showed up to support Standing Rock, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers said it would not grant an easement under the lake. The Corps now requires an environmental impact statement. So what now? The invincible force known as the oil industry is still out there, saying the project is inevitable. North Dakota's representative, U.S. Representative Kevin Kramer, said, "The unfortunate decision sends a very chilling signal to others who want to build infrastructure in this country. Roads, bridges, transmission lines, pipelines, wind farms, and water lines will be very difficult, if not impossible, to build when criminal behavior is rewarded this way." Remember, this is the company that proceeded without an easement, something I wouldn't suggest you try if you're building a house with most banks. There we go again, inevitable, a done deal. If only the Standing Rock Sioux tribe, the Cheyenne River tribe, and hundreds of tribes gathered across the planet would not have gotten in their way. But there are three things to think about in that chronology and the idea of inevitable. First, no company can roll over a community that's united. And that's all of the communities involved, not just the people of Standing Rock. As Chairman Archambault said, throughout this effort, I've stressed the importance of acting at all times in a peaceful and prayerful manner. Second, it's true that President Donald J. Trump can revisit this issue. He probably will, but it will not be easily undone. I've been writing for months that I thought President Obama would take action before he left office, and that's what happened. One thing that's been clear in this story is that a president's power is not absolute. Once the Army Corps of Engineers issued the call for an environmental impact statement, that becomes something that folks can litigate against. And even at the point when the next step happens, if they reverse the process, that becomes an item that can go to court, which easily could delay the project for another year. The whole pipeline story is one that was far better for the 19th century than the 21st. It represented the total breakdown of communication between the tribes and the state of North Dakota. There needs to be something to heal that, and that's what should be inevitable. That's what should be the done deal. It's easy to think back and look at all of this and just think it was a horrible year. And there are many reasons that come to mind. But Standing Rock has changed the language. In fact, I think of a phrase that the Lakota use, Minoni Wikoni, water is life. And 2016 was inspirational in that regard, because Standing Rock is no longer just a geographic location, but words that call people to do more. Standing Rock is a reminder that standing together, people can do amazing things when facing injustice. Think about the ways we were seduced by progress. In September, for example, then President Obama praised the Paris Agreement on climate change and called it the single best chance we had to deal with a problem that could end up transforming this planet in a way that makes it very difficult for us to deal with other challenges. Lofty words. Yet the actual government actions to implement those words, past administration or future one, have been at best limited, baby steps. Imagine a framework that starts with the promise of Paris and then builds decisions based on that. In a scenario like that, there would be no debate about the Dakota Access Pipeline because we wouldn't need it. But at least for the next 4 years, the government will be an adversary. The entire apparatus of state will look more like North Dakota and the Morton County Sheriff Office than an ally. Instead of comforting language, people are more likely to face water cannons. But let's be clear about the challenge ahead, knowing that the federal government is not the only way to solve problems. So what does our nation's Standing Rock moment look like? We are seeing today across the country women marching. I was on Facebook this morning and I saw several posts on social media as women led a round dance, a friendship dance, at the National Museum of the American Indian in Washington, D.C. As Adrienne Keene, a Cherokee blogger, wrote, "I hope every women's march and solidarity rally around the United States has incorporated meaningful participation from local indigenous women. Wherever you are in the United States, you are on indigenous land. And true solidarity can't start without that recognition." A Standing Rock moment. I expect more action, even progressive action, from many different spheres. Watch cities and states step up. Watch market forces work to reduce consumption. Imagine young people dismissing the status quo and demanding something better. In some ways, it's already unfolding. I was doing some light reading of the British Petroleum Statistical Review. And it's an energy industry outlook. And it reports that carbon emissions in 2015 showed, quote, the lowest growth in emissions in nearly a quarter of a century, other than the immediate aftermath of the financial crisis. Similar data are reported across many different metrics. For example, one that's most interesting is our miles driven every year continues to decline. People are figuring out how to drive less. And the millennials are even driving less than most of us. Then there's this tell. The amount of capital that's being invested in clean energy development has now reached $328 billion, the most ever. Federal processes already delayed the Dakota Access Pipeline beyond its supposed to open this month. And litigation with the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe could stretch that out for many, many more months. And every day, every week, and every month of delay makes the Dakota Access Pipeline less compelling from a financial point of view. Forget the environment, forget the tribe. Oil production in the Bakken region, for example, was down last year by some 13,000 barrels a day. The oil industry hopes that the new Trump administration will change that and flip some switch that brings back consumption. But in fact, the state of North Dakota clings to this idea that oil production will magically double to around 2 million barrels a day. That idea is bolstered by uptick in prices, new oil production, and more drilling. But the data shows the opposite is happening. We are continuing to shrink our appetites. We can set Standing Rock as a framework for consumption. The one way to challenge oil uber alles is to walk, to adjust temperatures in our houses, to measure our own carbon consumption with the goal of reducing it by 20% or more. Standing Rock has captured our imagination, and while it was only one battle, the tribe and its allies showed the world how to defeat powerful forces. Now the larger test is making the government's promotion of more oil and gas production completely irrelevant. And to make the victory at Standing Rock a symbol for something more. Standing Rock shows we cannot walk alone because the common destiny is that water is life. Thank you.